Hey guys, it's Julesy. Okay, so I'm still getting used to this. First of all, I got press on nails on my hands and it's a little clunky. But I'm still getting used to this new live dashboard, but we are going to get into our review of Okay, there's a delay on my side. Of Queen and Slim, we're just going to get right into it because we're doing a live because we don't have time for edits and we have our mic here. So hopefully the mic isn't too distracting and I can't really see the screen well. I'm gonna go back to OBS because I don't need to see myself right here. I can see the comments. All right. All right, so let's get into this review of Queen and Slim because we have so much going on. And as always, hop on over to the Patreon to support because we are working on launching this book club and other projects. And the more support I get, the more I can do more things. That's how this goes. All right, are you ready? All right, so Twitter has lit up today with everyone discussing Queen and Slim. I actually went to go see it on Wednesday, and I do believe that it's a film worth going to watch. And I say that with certain caveats, right? That like I understand the diverse reactions that people are having to the movie. Like, I think it makes sense to me that people are extremely turned off from certain key elements in the movie. It makes sense that the movie is traumatizing and triggering for certain people. And it also makes sense to me that some people are walking out of the theater and thinking it's a great movie and that they love it. Uh, yeah. I personally am not mad that I supported it. But if I was gonna land on one sentence, and if I had to wrap my sentiment up concisely, I would say that the film is very arrogant. Queen and Slim reads to me as a very arrogant film. It like overworks itself in trying to place itself in the canon of like a Black Hood classic. Like it feels like someone who it definitely feels like you're taking all these Twitter, Tumblr moments and putting them into a film. And I don't think that's the whole of the film, though, which is kind of why I have a middle of the road conclusion on how I feel about Queen and Slim as a whole, because it's at its foundation feels like it could have been a really good movie. Like to me, it's not absolutely horrible. I actually don't think it's a bad film. I'm not mad I watched it. I'm not mad that I paid to go see it. I'm a little annoyed that it was 2.5 hours because a good 30 minutes of that movie could have been taken out and it would have been fine. But I think that there are like the foundation of it is there, and that with just a few better choices, the movie could have been salvaged. But because of those choices stand out to me, and they also very so much read as though they are Tumblr moments. Like you did them for the sake of doing them, not because they actually added something integral or important to the movie or the conversation that the movie is trying to have. All right, so we're gonna start this off. There is no way for me to do a review without there being spoilers. We're talking about the movie. We're going to talk about the movie all the way through to the end of the movie because of how the movie is structured. So if you were one of those people that is sensitive to context being given or spoilers, because I think even though I'm going to talk about the movie, I think you could still go watch the movie. I don't know. I think the only thing that I really could ruin for you, I think there's two moments in the movie that I could ruin for you. So if you sensitive, you might want to click out of this and come back and watch it. Cash App a hoe on your way out. Head on over to Patreon and join there. But you might want to wait until after to watch this review. Is it low? The volume is low? Oh no. The volume is all the way turned up. Hold on, let me look on my thing. We might have to restart this. Oh, I don't have a way of turning up the audio. Nope. Like I'm talking right into it, so I don't know. Damn, got an ad playing first. Yeah, I'm sorry. Y'all gonna have to turn y'all volume up. It's not gonna be this loud of a movie. All right, but where was I? I think the movie has a beautiful soundtrack. I love the okay, everyone's saying it's just love. Whatever. I thought the soundtrack is beautiful. Both the soundtrack, the actual soundtrack that's like available for sale, and the music in the movie, like sonically very black, very beautiful. Like they open up with a Herbie Hancock track. We have all my favorites. We have Luther. We have Bilal. You know, Burna Boy over Fela Shakara. I love it. Oh, shout out to Lakeisha. Thank you, sis. I for the Cash App. I $ Julesy. I loved like I don't know why. I keep thinking of like Burna Boy does remind me a lot of like I want to make a shady remark about Femi, but I absolutely love having Burna Boy over a Fela track. It makes so much sense. And I think the music in the film is amazing. So much so that my partner the other week was like playing the soundtrack, and I didn't realize it was a Queen and Slim soundtrack. And I was like, yo, what are we listening to? And he's like, it's the Queen and Slim soundtrack. And I said, yo, there was the song Running Away, because it's that clip of the Running Away track sampled. It's like a Dev Hynes song. And I was like, this definitely has to be a sex scene. Because then the piano keeps repeating towards the end of the song. And then I was like, wait, this either sounds like a sex song or somebody's dying, because this shit is melancholy as fuck. And if they were trying to do like a Tumblr movie, they probably would just do both. And I meant that as a joke. And I didn't mean for that to be literal. So when I went to see the film, and literally, I'm finna ruin that shit for you, there is a sex scene spliced over a nigga dying. Bruh. That with the song that I heard, thinking, oh, this song is melancholy as fuck. This has to be either a sex scene or somebody dying. I am so mad at how accurate unnecessarily I was. But we're gonna get into that. Okay. We're gonna get into that later. All right, so Queen Slim is produced by Melina, can't pronounce her Greek last name, and it's written by Lena Waithe. Now, I don't think it's traditional that we are getting so much visibility around the writer of the film, and that Lena Waithe is getting a lot of press for this film, and she's doing a lot of the branding around, like, you know, saying that this film is a meditation on blackness, and that kind of weird interview they gave to there's a link been floating around Twitter where Melina or Lena suggests that she's a different type of black person because she watches more than just black art. And I like you, sis. I really liked the Thanksgiving episode that Melina and Lena worked on together for the Master of None on Netflix that Lena then went on to win an Emmy for. Great. Amazing. And I think the way they works well for a 45-minute episode. But that sort of arrogance, that sort of cockiness, it just ain't doing it for an almost 3-hour movie, okay? Whoo! All right. So we have this movie where Angela, played by Jodie Turner-Smith, and Ernest, played by Daniel, ain't gonna fuck up his last name, from Get Out and Black Panther. Angela is Queen and Ernest is Slim. We never get into the movie about how we go from Angela to Queen, like how that naming comes about. It's never really, I don't even feel like in the movie they're called Queen and Slim. Maybe I missed that scene. But they go on a mismatched date. I am very happy that the movie is set in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm like so happy that it's not I think black films do tend to always want to be in like the same cities over and over again. And so I like the city choices. I like the exploration of them going from the north, making like the reverse runaway railroad trip. I got that, and I appreciated that nod and the visuals that we got to see, because, you know, I'm a big fan of the Southern United States and black culture, and I think visually the movie is stunning, and so visually seeing those nods to Southern black culture, I definitely appreciate. But they go on a Tinder date because Angela is a defense attorney, and her client, like, was found guilty of a murder trial or something, and so I actually... if I wanted to nitpick, I could nitpick at the beginning of the movie, right? I could nitpick because I did think it was interesting when they were at the diner that this sort of, I don't think the movie does well addressing people, black people of different class. Um, this sort of wanting to cast economically disadvantaged black folks as pathological, in that like the waitress was just like, for this to be a restaurant that Ernest comes to a lot and is his favorite, that we just have like the poor black woman who's just rude as fuck for no reason. But I mean, that like I would really be picking there if I really dug into that. But I will say overall, at the beginning of the movie, because I was willing to forgive that sort of setup, because I thought the transition from the date to the incident with the police actually worked well. I think, you know, if it was pretty fluid. And the setup for the progression of the movie at that point, I thought the pacing worked well. You know, there are certain things that don't make sense to me because and I think and I thought maybe they would be filled in later in the film. And I don't think that like the character of Angela, aka Queen, was really kind of fleshed out fully. But however, a criminal defense attorney ends up on a date with a nigga named Ernest at a diner that serves iceberg lettuce. Okay, sure. And the lead up to Dale getting pulled up by the police, I thought even the interaction with the police was realistic, and I thought that the speed and the pace and the visuals and all those elements, I thought the movie was going well at that point. Okay. And I will say, I understand that when you go to see film and you go to see fiction, there is a willing suspense of disbelief. I get it. But I do think this movie is trying to start a conversation. I think this movie is trying to specifically hit at certain nerves. And a lot of my critique of the movie actually is, okay, well, if you're going to start the conversation, what conversation are you trying to have? What point of entry are you trying to enter into this conversation? And at what point are you trying to have us leave out and disperse out with this conversation? And I think the movie starts with the idea of, we are going to have a conversation about the Black experience in America and how it relates to state violence. And then it doesn't answer any of the other questions, right? And then from there, it just kind of, we're just going to do things for the sake of doing things and not doing things thinking about the conversation that they're having, right? And that we go from this police shooting, willing suspension of disbelief, that a criminal defense attorney decides to run away with a nigga. Okay, sure. They decide to flee. You know what? I'm not even mad at that. They decide to flee because that's the essence of the story. And I think if you're going to go with that, I really wanted to see a commitment to that, though. A commitment to being on the run. And I just don't feel like they committed to being on the run. Because, like, they were just doing dumb shit. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm a regular nigga. And I just think they're okay. I have critiques around the actions that the characters took. And that their interactions once they flee, like, one, what was the point of certain interactions, and then why they made the choice for those interactions. So as I said, the movie is almost 2.5 hours. I do think a good 30 minutes, a lot of those interactions were unnecessary, like the white boy in the gas station with the gun and some of the expose. I think the movie overall could have been shortened. Driving in a distinct truck that they stole from a sheriff. Wow. Pulling up at houses in broad daylight in brightly colored vintage vehicles. Okay. I get wanting to show solidarity and the dichotomy of how Black people view this state violence versus how the broader mainstream media will portray Black people and state violence. But it just seemed to I think I could forgive. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I think I could forgive a lot of the interactions that felt unnecessary to me if the protest had not gone the way the protest went. I think the handling of the protest was extremely sloppy. It was extremely grotesque. and very triggering for like a lot of people. And I think that it could have, I feel like they should have consulted actual activists, people that are involved in the protest, because like across the board, and I'm like, activists are not a monolith, but I know a ton of people that were very active in Ferguson, a ton of people that don't even like each other who were active in Ferguson, and none of them were with that protest scene, like none of them. I thought the entire setup between the interaction when Angela and Ernest, the Porsche that her uncle gives her that broke down, and them going to a shop and then being charged $2,500 to replace a radiator same day, and then the guy saying that he don't fuck with what they did, and I mean there's a bounty on your head, by all means at that point you could have turned them niggas in, and then him giving them, he don't agree with their politics, but he tells his son to go take a walk, and the son talks about wanting to be immortal, like liking what they did. And I think at that point you realize that they're going to die. Like that whole setup suggests that there is no way that they are going to succeed in any element of their running away, that they have to now die because the setup is, what does it mean to be immortal? But what are you trying to say with how they're becoming a lightning rod in the Black community? What are you trying to say about the influence that has on others? Right? Because we get to this protest scene where a young Black male child shoots, and I'm going to get back to some other scenes. I'm skimming here because this protest scene really bothered me. But where a young Black male child shoots a Black police officer in the face and then is murdered himself by the police. Like I was so bothered by that like all the things that I enjoyed about the movie up until that point kind of like were overwhelmed by this really grotesque scene that's interspliced. Like a young Black child is murdering another Black man, interspliced with this couple who only went on one Tinder date and broadly aren't really that compatible, fucking in the car at the graveyard in front of the tombstone of Angela's mama. I just can't keep running away. I don't forget it. I don't, cause like, what are you trying to like, what are you trying to say with that? My first reaction is, are you trying to say that all police aren't the same? And I think that is a very dangerous way to say that. Are you suggesting that the way in which we culturally respond to protesting state violence, that we have every right to protest and raise up against, will inspire children to just flip a switch and be unnecessarily violent themselves? I don't even simply have an issue with the sex being interspliced with the protest and that young boy dying and the Black police officer dying. I have an issue with the scenes that preceded, right? That this young boy says, well, I want to be immortal. You guys are immortal. It doesn't matter to live. And Angela very vocally saying that she wants to live. She does not want to be immortal. She wants to live. She doesn't want to be immortal and passing on. And then for him to take that, and then he walks to this protest, which even the aerial shot of the protest, I'm just like, well, maybe we're just in a small town somewhere. What? By this point, were we in Georgia or something? No. This is after Louisiana, so we might be in Georgia, Alabama at this point. And, by all means, the protesters are actually, as most protests, and if you've ever gone to protests, particularly Black Lives Matter protests yourself, they are, for the most part, peaceful protests, right? People might be aggressive in their tone, but until something flips and agitates people are typically not violent outright. They might be violent in response, but they're not outrightly violent. And I've been to a protest that ended up being shot up. Okay, so I went to the Dallas Black Lives Matter protest where that guy, supposedly the one guy, killed several police officers. And it just like the spark of violence just doesn't happen where like someone is like walking away while one random boy is oddly being beat by the police. That setup was weird. Where he turns around, walks away, and then turns around and says, "Nah, I'm gonna fuck it up," and then goes back, and then you have this black police officer. And okay, I'm not pro cops at all. I think once you put on that uniform, you do take responsibility of your community and the broader cultural elements that they assume. But by all means, that black police officer was trying to be as kind as a police officer in that moment can be, and the boy takes out the gun and then shoots him in the face. And so if you're producing a movie that is supposed to be having this conversation about the black experience in America, about the trauma of the black experience in America, what is this whole scene saying? And everything that I can end on what it is potentially trying to say is pointless, is degrading to the black community. It is, again, suggesting that there is a pathology, that there is a disease, right? That we do things not because of systematic causes, but we do things because they are innate to us. And I think that is a very offensive sentiment to be put into this film. So I don't know. I would love to hear Lena and Melina explain the choice of setting that scene up, of inserting that scene in the film. And girl, I have not read the script that's floating around. I'm trying to just base my opinion on a movie. I'm not trying to drag nobody any further than what I got to drag them. But I thought that scene was it was just so poorly handled. And it really, like, if I was going to say what really ruins the movie for me, it is that scene. I think in the movie theater, I literally yelped out, "What the fuck?" Because it was so unnecessary. All right. But I would like to go back because Bokeem Woodbine and India Moore, I loved when they got to New Orleans. I don't know why they pulled up to New Orleans with that truck they stole from the sheriff. Like, niggas wasn't fit to see that. But Bokeem Woodbine was definitely a moment of levity in the film. India Moore is just an awesome actress herself. I don't necessarily understand the setup of Bokeem, Uncle Earl? Is that nigga name? He got my daddy name, Uncle Earl. With him being a Iraq veteran to now hapless pimp. But you know what? I like the interactions. I like the setup. I also, when it comes to Angela, when it comes to acting overall, I don't really have an issue with the acting in the film. I think they did what they could do with what they were working with. And some of the things that read as corny aren't necessarily corny because of the acting. They're corny because why was this scene necessary? When Daniel goes into Ernest, Slim, goes into the gas station. They don't have cash. And Angela has come up with this plot that they basically just need to point a gun at a cashier and make him put $40 on their tank. I feel like she should be smarter than that, but okay. And Ernest, hapless ass, goes into the store and shows the gun, and the white boy's like, "Ooh, a gun. Like, we in the South. That little white boy daddy probably got guns. He ain't that amused by a gun. All right. And then he does this whole, I'll put $40 on your tank if you let me hold the gun. And then Ernest, dumbass, don't release the clip, don't take out the bullets, just hands him the gun, and then ends up getting the gun pointed back at him. Again, what are we trying to say? What are we trying to prove? Or does this just make for like a good, fun, like YouTube clip after the fact that we get to laugh at or something? I don't I think the humor was lost in the moment. And I just don't know what was that attempting to facilitate. I wish that Angela's character was a little bit more robust. I don't think she was flat. And I personally, I like difficult black women characters because I think we have every right to show diverse range of like what black women can be. So, we are more than just mothers and the matriarchs and the one who always takes care, the strong black woman or the super nice black woman. I like a toxic black woman character. The mom in Moonlight, loved her. Okay? I love a difficult black woman. Love it. And I think Angela almost borders on being emotionally stunted. I mean, she is. I think her character is meant to be unable to be vulnerable, right? And that maybe there's a progression in her vulnerability through this chase because taking on something so daring does mean you have to tap into your vulnerability. But those moments of like what is emotionally going on with Angela, what is Angela's past, are just delivered as lines. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I freed my uncle. I got my uncle out of jail after he killed my mother. It's like dialogue, and I just I think there could have been a smoother way to delve into her character, but I think we spend a lot of time on having these moments, these like black Tumblr moments, that we lose moments on building out and allowing for more nuance in her character. But overall, I think the acting, both by Jodie Turner Smith and Daniel Kaluuya. I'm sorry if I'm messing up that man's name. I actually think they did a really good job acting, and again, I enjoyed seeing all the black actors pop up. I even enjoyed that interaction with the dad getting to the hospital after he got hit and that whole setup, even though they pulled up to the hospital again in that sheriff's distinctly colored car. But okay, we'll suspension of disbelief. We're going to go with it. And then we get to them. I didn't mind the interaction once they got to the white guy's house in Florida. And hiding in the floor because this guy is a military veteran with PTSD, so he has hideouts in his home, or that whole interaction with the black cop and the white cop and the black cop essentially letting them go. I didn't even like, honestly, if the protest scene wasn't so grotesque, I could have found levity in all of those moments, right? And I could have really enjoyed it. But by this point, I'm still like trying to process what the fuck was that protest scene. And the ending of the movie, then, when you couple with the protest scene, like when you couple with really the whole of the movie, what is the ending of the movie saying? I feel like this movie once it's like a what do I call it? Like a wallpaper movie, right? Like visually, you can put the movie on mute and visually it would just be like, wow. Like the color grading, the cinematography, the director of photography, even Melina's eye as a director, and Shiona's costume design. Like it looks visually like a very beautiful film. And then we get like these, slow-mo death moments. But the movie wants you to have a conversation, and I keep thinking, well, what conversation do you want me to have? What does it mean for them to get so close to getting away? To you my that whole you my legacy shit, nigga. I don't look. If the protest scene hadn't happened, maybe I could fuck with her being in legacy. But at this point, I'm like, Angela has said she wants to live, and for her to just be like shot like that so quickly and so brutally. And then to Daniel to have his whole body lit up, and then we get the pan shot of the black nigga Jackson, who's the one that picked him up in the first place, being the one that ratted them out and collecting all that cash. Is not even how collecting a reward works, but okay, bruh. I don't know, because it doesn't really feel to me like we are having a real conversation about the Black experience, about the nuances of the Black experience, about the difficulties, the ways in which we survive. I think more or less we are really having a conversation about, look at these niggas get shot up. I did it. I did it. I didn't know. Part of me is thinking, okay, well, at the point when I realized they were going to die, which is when that little boy said, I want to be immortal, right? And then proceeds to shoot a cop in the face. I was like, oh, these niggas is dead. They ain't living. You can't do this shit, then let these niggas live. We can't see these niggas, Assad Shakur in it, through Cuba. Ain't fitting to happen. But I was like, okay, well, is it really a wrong choice to have them die? I don't think that them not being able to escape is a wrong choice. I just wish there was more of a commitment overall to them being on the run. It just felt very haphazard. They're running away in the first place. And it just felt like a really easy choice to say, okay, we're just going to have these white police officers unload fire onto them when they're standing with their hands out. Like, they didn't make any sudden moves. They didn't really do anything, but we're just going to say, okay. But then to me, that also kind of then waters down the conversation that we can have about state violence and police murdering Black people. I did not read any reviews or watch any other reviews before I sat down to do this review. I'm going to now go back and read and watch because I've seen everybody talk about it. But I did read one review because I was talking to my homegirl and I was like talking to her because really the two issues that I have with the film are the protest scene, the way they intersplice that with the sex scene, and then the ending with the choices of having the two characters shot up by the police. And being sold out by the nigga that lived in the trailer park with the gold teeth. And she had suggested that I read Brooke Obie's piece because she was saying, at Shadow and Act, because she was saying that I'm taking issue with the same things that Brooke was taking issues with. And I went and read the article, and I thought it was really, really good because at the beginning, Brooke recalls Alice Walker's quote from Zora Neale Hurston's Barracoon. So Alice Walker wrote the intro to Barracoon, which I believe I have a review of Barracoon on my YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure I do have a review of that book up. And she quotes that those who love us never leave us alone with our grief. At the moment they show our wound, they reveal they have the medicine, right? Barracoon is a very difficult book that deals with a very difficult topic about like how slavery actually worked and the participation of Africans selling other Africans into slavery, right? And it's not that you have an answer. You don't have a panacea. You don't have a solvent. You don't have the resolve for everything. But you do have a way of pushing us forward, right? I think there are plenty of Black creatives who I'm sure Lena has consumed and watched who have dealt with these very traumatic elements of the Black American experience, right? Because Black Lives Matter and the recorded deaths of Black people at the hands of police are not anything new in the history of Black people in America, right? We have generationally gone through very traumatic experiences. And the only thing that's changed is we now have phones to record the experiences. And so historically, Black art, and I'm thinking of Fred Moten in Black and Blurred, right? And he's in his book, which is very difficult to read. He is talking about Frederick Douglass and how even like Douglass's writing, which he considers an art, was kind of echoing the screams of his mother and the traumatic experiences Douglass's mother had as a slave woman. And that Black art has always kind of been speaking to or cultivated from, and even part of our identity has come from the trauma that we have experienced due to our Blackness. And so I don't think that this idea of approaching difficult conversations, right, of illuminating difficult experiences that we've had, right, and bringing them to the forefront and saying, I want to address them. I don't want to act like everything's okay. I want to show this experience. I want to show how we survive. And I want to show also how we languish. I think there are plenty of Black creators who have tackled this, and tackled it well. And so I think that this has been done even if you compare, like, if Beale Street Could Talk, which Barry Jenkins, both the book by James Baldwin and then the film that Barry Jenkins produced last year, which had a horrible marketing rollout, but it also deals with a very tough topic, and it doesn't fill the movie with things that happen for the sake of happening. I think it very gracefully touches on this topic of mass incarceration and how Black bodies are kept caught up in the criminal justice system. I mean, even in I Am Not Your Negro, right? In James Baldwin's documentary, where he's talking about wanting to bear witness and to be a witness and to constantly using his art as a way to bear witness to the struggles of the traumas of Black people in America, right? That we've had this addressed before. And I just really feel like the only way that I can, like, succinctly wrap this up without trying to get too much into, like, all these books that everyone hasn't read yet, is that it feels arrogant. As I said at the beginning, it feels like someone said, all right, I have this great idea, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make this shit hot fire, more fire, and I'm going to put this in it, and I'm going to put this in it. Oh, yeah, I see that shit pop off on Twitter. We're going to put this shit in it too. Okay. Yes. Uncle Earl finna be a pimp. Okay. White boy finna be crazy about guns. Yes. They're going to fuck in the car, the graveyard, interslice with some niggas dying. Yes. Gonna get shot up. Yes. With the gold teeth. Trinidad James, broke ass cousin, gonna get all the coins laid up in the trailer park. Yes. I just really feel like that's kind of where it ends, and it doesn't feel like it was really, really interrogated, right? From a point of humility and from a point of care to how this is going to impact the larger Black community. I think this movie is going to be very triggering for people who have been active in the activist space. Very triggering for people who have been on the front, on the ground, right? The people that are really doing the work, that are showing up to court with folks, that are really protesting, that are really putting their lives and livelihoods online. I think this film is very triggering because it commodifies the experience without, in a thoughtless way. It doesn't really give the thought due. But with all that to say, I feel like I'm pointing out what is to me a very big issue with the film, but I feel like it really would have taken a very small change to kind of turn the tide. Because foundationally, there are the right elements are in the film, right? You have this visually beautiful film. You have sonically amazing. It felt like a long music video. Like, the music almost tells more of the story than the dialogue necessarily does. And then you just get these scenes that are so unnecessary. And that's where I land. That is it. I would love to, for those who don't agree with me, because I'm sure there's plenty, and you have every right to not agree with me. You have every right to have thoroughly enjoyed this film, to think that there's a conversation to be had with it, all that. My question to you is, what does the ending of the movie, what is the protest, that little boy shooting the police, what is that saying? What conversation is that putting forward? How is this moving us forward? Or what conversation is this challenging us to have? And how does the ending of the movie, because if I'm going to critique the end of the movie, what is it that I actually want? I don't necessarily have an issue with that they died. I have an issue with how they died. I have an issue with how that was visualized. I have an issue with how easy it was, right? But I'm also trying to question that if that protesting hadn't happened, would I have been okay with that ending going the way it went? Would I have been a little bit more open to the ending? I don't know. I honestly don't know that, like, I don't know if I could say the movie would have been better if they got to escape and they got on that plane and went to Panama or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe if the progression overall to them running away was just a little bit more, it was a stronger commitment to that. If they were actually a little bit more invested, that whole, the horse scene, the getting on the motherfucking horse, nigga, you are hot. My uncle used to take me horse riding because they said white people don't like seeing niggas on a horse because they have to look up at you. Bruh. I ain't never finna get invited to a Solange or anything after this review. But let me see what y'all talk about over here. How long have I been on this? That horse scene was dumb too. I'm like going back through how many of these scenes. You niggas is hot. I didn't mind them going to the juke joint, to the black neighborhood. I thought it was hilarious that they thought cutting their hair off was gonna make them less identifiable. Okay, sis. I know they breath had to sting. You ain't changed your underwear in how many days, sis? But okay. Let me see what y'all niggas is saying before I log off. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope y'all commented along. I'm sure people are arguing. Okay, I could close out with this. Maybe I could say, what movies have I liked? Right? Like, because I think sometimes people tend to say that I am critical. I'm trying to delete the person that keeps posting the links. Okay, what movies have I liked? I loved Moonlight. I think, both Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, which are movies by Barry Jenkins, they touch very difficult topics. They don't attempt to make you feel good or to comfort white people. And I think they are succinctly done because they're not trying. I think there's a way to make a movie culturally relevant without being like, ooh, my movie going to be culturally relevant. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a grace that I feel like Queen and Slim is lacking. But I don't mind, because I don't mind that Queen and Slim is gritty though. I don't mind the grittiness of the film. And I really feel like though they are trying to make Queen and Slim like the next Belly, right? Like you get this music director directing a film, maybe some of the storyline and the plots are like oof, and the acting is a little like oof, but you go back like 10, 14, 15 years later, you're like, ooh, look at how they lit the black people in the film. That's kind of what I thought they were doing here. I love Dolomite Is My Name, the Eddie Murphy film that is on Netflix about Dolomite. Again, I think there is a way to I think what Dolomite does really well is give a very vulnerable performance. Like Eddie Murphy as Dolomite is a very sort of both to speaking to the Rudy Ray Moore character and to like just Eddie Murphy as an actor gives a very comically but vulnerable portrayal of someone who definitely deserves their flowers in acknowledging how much they influence black cinema. I'm trying to think what else have I really liked. Non-black film Parasite is a great film, but it's a Korean film. And yeah, I have a review on my channel of If Beale Street Could Talk. I will have to link everything. What is it? Beale Street, Barracoon review, to this after. What is up with these, these spam? I did not like Black Klansman. I thought that film was pandering to police. And I was really surprised that Spike Lee would put out like what I essentially felt borderline as a police apologist film. Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that India was non-binary. I have a review of Black Panther. I generally thought that Black Panther. That's what I'm saying. I think there are really great critiques of Black Panther. But that the movie overall was robust enough that like you could critique it and both still enjoy the film. Like there are some corny elements to there are plenty of corny elements to Black Panther, but it was an enjoyable film. And I think that with a little bit more care and thoughtfulness, Queen Slim could have also been this. Because I mean, mind you, this is Lena Waithe and Melina's first feature film, right? So I don't necessarily expect them to come out hitting full swing on such a difficult topic, but I think it's very cocky to say that this film is a meditation on blackness. I think it's very presumptuous to put this movie as a very important film and a very important conversation to be had about the Black experience in America, and then to then to handle characters the way they handled them, and to insert certain scenes for the sake of inserting them into the film. If you're telling me this is important, and if you're telling me this is important to my experience and to the ways in which some of us have in very personal ways dealt with police violence, then you have to be more considerate in the story that you tell. I am not going to review The Watchmen because it is. How do I block somebody like this? I hate when they pop up and then it's like, I'm not going to review Watchmen because I it's way too much happening in the film. I don't have the bandwidth right now. I'm trying to build up my Patreon because we want to launch this book club and I want to pay all the people that I'm hiring for it and pay them equitable rates. So I'm focused on doing more for that. And then, school applications and stuff. It's a really, 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 really good show, but there is so much happening. What's Soraya's last name? I want to say McDaniels. Her reviews on the Undefeated of the Watchmen episodes are great, and I literally learned so much. It's like a history lesson in every episode, and I really don't have enough time to sit down and do that show justice because there are so many moving pieces in that show that no, I won't be reviewing it. And I did not watch America's Son. All right. I am fitting to. How long we done been on this? How long we done been at this? Where's my timer at? I don't even know. 47 minutes. All right. We finna log off. Thank y'all for joining. I hope y'all enjoyed this review. I can't wait to read everyone's comments and thoughts on this. And I will holla at y'all later. Bye.